Hi, my name is Adrian Anderson, and now that Oracle CPQ's Redwood UI is now generally available, I want to show you how to take your transaction manager from looking something like this to this, and then your transaction or quote object from looking something like this to this. So let's get started. All right, so for most people watching this video, you probably already have a CPQ site, so you'll need to go through some steps to enable the Redwood UI. For the others, the lucky few, if you are just now getting a CPQ site, this should already be enabled for you, but you can follow these steps just to verify. Okay, so we're in the admin page now. We want to come to process definition, and we want to select the commerce process that we're working with. I'm using this Oracle CPQ-0, so I'll come here, and you'll notice there's now a Boolean or checkbox list of options of legacy and Redwood. This is for the quotes list layout, or the transaction manager. So we'll make this true. You also notice that we have the Redwood UI down here. We will enable this. We'll click apply, and then we can define access rights for this layout. So I'm going to come to access rights. For my site, I create a user group called Redwood Layout Experience. That way, instead of turning on and turning off the Redwood UI here, I can just add and remove users from this group. So I'm going to click apply, and I'm going to deploy this commerce process. And then we'll come back and see how that takes effect on the buy side. All right, now we're here on the buy side looking at the transaction manager, and you can see the UI has changed, of course. Now, there's a few things here that you'll want to go over or want to know. So first is this transaction grouping here. You can see I have my transactions grouped currently now by status. And I can change this to really not whatever I want, but this list of options. And this list of options you can define elsewhere in the application. All right, and you also have these saved searches. So right now, if I go to actions and I go to manage save searches, here are the list of the saved searches that just come out of the box basically. Okay, you can set a site default for everybody, or you can set a default for yourself. Okay, and you can also create these saved searches. So you can search for something, say, we'll search for customer company name equals ABC. Let's just say actually contains ABC. We'll apply. Oops. Apply. And again, this is just going to show all the transactions that meet the criteria. I can come over to actions, save, see, call it ABC quotes, save. Now, if I come over to manage save searches, here is the saved search I just created. I can have it just for me or for everybody. I can share it. I can also delete it. So that's really all you need to know about the transaction manager. Let's now look at a transaction. So we're here in the transaction, and you aren't going to see anything, especially once you just created this, if you convert it from, if you just enable it on an existing site. For a new site, you will have stuff here, but this will also teach you how to modify and administrate this. So first thing you'll notice, or you should notice, is that there's two tabs here, a live tab and a design tab, or mode, so we can call them. Live is what the end users will see. Design is where you can extend this and modify it. The first thing that you'll want to do when you're here is come to this gear icon here. This is going to open up the quote detail settings, and we can import our Jet UI, previously created Jet UI. You can have a guided import if in case you want to pick and choose the components you want to bring in, or you can just do an express import, and that's what we're going to do. So you'll notice we have these two new views, is what we're going to call these, that came in. Let's go over to the live mode, and we can see what these look like. So again, quote information won't have anything. Pricing and products will basically just have our line item grid. And then we see our transaction view with its tabs, and then our summary view with its one tab. Okay, so let's come back over to design. Let's go back over to the settings. And you should know here, you can reset the layout. I won't click this now. It'll basically take it back to how it was out of the box. We have themes that we can apply. We have the Redwood theme that, of course, is already here, but there's a Salesforce, which is kind of blue, and you can have a custom, or you can give it an RGB color. Okay, this will go back to Redwood. We can define how we want this navigation tab header up here, light or dark. You can also inherit it. Inherit just means dark. And you can also have your choice of fonts here. You can add new fonts here, I believe, through SR, that whole process, but we have some out of the box here. And then also we can give our tab, our browser tab, a title. Let's just give it, say, oops, transaction number. Okay. And we can see now we have our transaction number in the head in the browser tab. Okay, let's make some more changes. So let's come back over to design mode. And you should know that you can click in right at the edges of the white space on this page, and you'll get this customized layout, which is just a general configuration of the whole object. But we're just going to touch the header. So if I click right in this area here, this header area, I can customize the header. And that same principle is true for all the other components that you'll see. You just have to click generally on them, and then you can customize that area or those components specifically. So in the header, I can give a title to the transaction. Let's give it transaction name. And you can see that pop up. We can give it secondary headers. Let's give it transaction number. Actually, let's give it some dollar amounts because we have the transaction number in the tab there. Let's type in net. Let's add the annual contract value net. Also, I can expand these. I can see the label and the attribute name. Let's give it the total, the list, sorry, the total list, the total net, so after discount. And then also let's give the monthly contract value. Where is that at? Total net per month. Let's give that. Okay. I can also reorder these. Let's say I want my total list to be first by clicking on this, those hamburgers here. Here we go. Let's see, I have my total list first, my total net second. We'll have my total net per month third, and I like that order. Okay, so let's move on. We have Ask Oracle. We'll talk about this more when we get to the live side, but let's just enable it now, and it's that easy. You just enable it. We have a state transition, and this just takes an HTML attribute. So you have to create an HTML attribute, and it will give you the state. It's like a train stop, and it'll let you see visually where at on your transaction process where you are. So that's all for there. And we have some actions that we can define. I'm going to start from the bottom up at this point. So I have more actions. This area here corresponds to this button here, where these ellipses are. So if a user clicks on this, they get a list of actions they can select. I'm going to remove one of these because I'm going to replace it. I'm going to remove the save action from here. And then as I come up, I'm going to go to the save action specifically. So you'll see the save action, refresh action, the email action, and the print action correspond to these buttons here. And these buttons are fixed. So you can't change the order. You just can assign the action that they'll trigger. So my save action be here. And the list of actions that you'll see in this dropdown, or all of these dropdowns, will be those action types distinctly. So you only see refresh type actions here. You only see modify type actions here because modify actions implicitly save. You only see email type actions here. And then you only see print type actions here. So I just assign those and it's quite simple. I can also add 2 custom actions. I'm just going to add some generic ones. Let's say add from favorites, and that's also add line items, and you see those buttons come up that way. And I can define a back action as well. And this is just going to take me back to the transaction manager. So let's see what this looks like on the live side. Great. So I come over to the live side. I have my title. I have all my subheaders here. I have my custom actions, my print action, my email action, my refresh action, my save action. I have my pipeline viewer, which looks this way. And then I have my more actions here. I also have this new Ask Oracle bar here. So if I click on it, it will give me some educated guesses what it thinks I might want to do. Let's just click on the first one, manage transaction name. So this will do two things. It'll allow me to change the transaction name directly here, like so. Wonderful. And then also will take me to the attribute as well here. And you see it highlights it for me right there. So that's really helpful if you want to either A, find an attribute in a layout, modify it, and you should also be able to find actions here. Let's see. No actions yet, but that will be soon coming. So that is the transaction header. Okay. Next, let's move on to what are called views. So I'm clicking in this area here. We used to call these tabs. We should now call these views. So I'll click customize here. There's a lot more things you can do here that you couldn't do before. Let's start at the top. So styles, we can have a traditional tabbed or horizontal organization of our views. We can have it on the vertical left or the vertical right, however you decide to do that. Each view that are displayed is going to be here. You can expand it and you can give it a label. You can edit the icon, and there's the list of icons here, which is quite neat. Obviously a description, and you can choose to merge it with something. And I'm actually going to do this now. This quote info view came, but there was nothing in it. So I'm going to merge it with the transaction view because that had a lot of things that I already needed, which is great. Again, I can do the same thing for these other views here. There are additional views that I could add, or I could create a new view, but for now, let's just leave it where we are. Now, to start to extend the view itself, I'm going to click just generally in this area here, not on something specific like I'm doing here, but generally in the area to customize the whole view. So that's where I'll go. It will allow me to change the layout style I want. If I just want a whole one column single layout, I'll have that. I can decide to have two. I can have multiple. And I can have it being four, or I can have it being responsive. You know, if I'm going to use it on devices of different sizes. Let's just keep it on a single column for now. We can define styles. First of all, an orientation of these tabs here. So again, we can have the traditional tab view, which most of us are used to. We can have these tabs on the right side that we see here. And then we can also have them in a collapsed fashion like we see here. So these kind of function like panes in the normal, the Jet UI you might be used to. We can have some general kind of settings here. We can define if we want this whole view to be read-only. We can hide or show the quick navigation button here. Again, we can talk about font. We can define some fonts here for this view specifically. And then this gives us the sections that we have. So these tabs here being the sections. So a distinction I want to make again, here, these tabs, but up here, we call these views. But these down here in the view, we want to call tabs proper. So I don't have anything on the details tab, so I'm actually going to remove it because my transaction details is going to be first, so that's fine. And I personally like the tab view for my tabs here. So I'm going to keep that how it is. So we can also customize the actions that we see in this view by clicking like I did here, just kind of generally in this area. I'm going to customize actions. And like we saw in the header, we have a primary action and we have more actions here. So I like to have my add line item action here. So add line item. So I noticed that I removed it from the more actions list and added it to the primary action. And there's other actions I can add here. So I'll leave that to you. We can also customize visualizations, which is something that is a big upgrade from Jet UI. By, as I don't know if you saw, but clicking on this visualization button here, come to available visualizations, and we have a few here. Let's add the, let's see, discount guidance meter gauge. That should be fine right here. It's just going to give us a generic idea of how it looks. So we'll keep that how it is. Speaking of visualizations, we can also do what are called in-context fields. So let's say, for example, I want to modify a field specifically. I click on it, go to customize field. Again, there's things here that you can take advantage of. If you want to see this attribute on the admin side, you can click manage and it opens up in a separate tab, which is quite nice. Let's go to advanced. And here we can define a in-context field. So we can have it be an action, can it be a visualization, an attachment, or HTML attribute. Let's do another visualization. We can, again, give it text. Let's just give it something generic. We can define the drawer size. So this small window that comes out from the side, like we're now, we call it a drawer. And of course, we can give it a font, but we're not going to do that. We can also delete the field, but we also don't want to do that either. Let's just go to the live side to see how this looks. So now we have a bunch of stuff from this quote info view, which is great. We have our tabs, as we said. We have our actions, our visualization. Again, there's no content because I don't really have any data for the visualization to display, so we're not going to see anything here. And we also have, again, this in context field. We have a visualization. And again, no content for this because I just don't have the data in my site. In a real life site, you would if you're using these things. Let us also, let's just submit this quote. And we see we have this, this pill here called approved. If I click on it, it's going to show me the approval history. This is a very simple site. Doesn't have a lot of approval. Essentially, if I click submit approval, it's just going to approve. But you can see, or will be able to see, robust approval history here, and also revisions if you're going to have multiple revisions. So that's good to know. So that's a lot about views there. All right, so back to design mode. Let's talk about the line item grid. So a big change from legacy to Redwood or Jet to Redwood is your line item grid is going to be constantly on this view, the products and pricing view. And like any other component, you can again define click generally here to customize the whole view. So let's do that. We have the same options that we had before. I can choose to add a new section here if I wanted to, but I'm not. So something underneath the line item grid. Again, we have the same things we saw before. But talking about the line item grid specifically, let's customize this section. We can give it a name if we wanted to. We can customize this collection container. We can define these row actions that we want to. So there's a configure button, delete button, etc. We'll see all this stuff from the live side when we come back. We can find a primary action. I will do that here. Let's give it again, add a line item. And we can define more actions. So we've seen a lot of this stuff already. Now for the line item grid, we have this overview bar, so we can customize this. And we can, again, just add some quote details here. Let's just add the currency for whatever reason. Customer zip code, state, just stuff here so we can see on the buy side. And then for the line item grid, we'll click generally here, and we can define a good bit of stuff here. First of all, we can define how we want our rows to load in a line item grid. We can have it load more on scroll, so as you go down, another batch is fetched, or we can have it paginate, which is what most people are used to. We can define a primary column, which is going to be the leftmost column. Right now, I just have a part number, but this is really going to function like the traditional product or part number column that you see in JET. And then we have available columns and columns that are applied, that are already here. And just like before, you can grab these double lines, drag and drop them to reorder them. You can expand this. You can define if that attribute is editable or not. And if you click manage, it'll take you again to that attribute page on the admin side. So now let's look at the live side of this. You see that we have our action that we defined. Here are those attributes that we defined in this bar here. We have our row actions here, which is just configure now. You can expand this, and we see that we have our primary column here. We also have some actions. This is to reconfigure, and then all of the rows of our line item grid. So stuff that most people have seen before. On the far right, we have this actions column here. We can get more details if we want of the line item grid. And then we can also go to the subdocument here. So not much to see on the subdocument. So let's actually go fix this now. So we'll close this. We'll come back to design mode. We'll come to products and pricing. And say we want to edit the subdocument, we'll click on the sample text. And we will, yes, this is where we go. We'll go to customize views. And again, let's merge this with here. Okay. We have our two tabs here. We only really need one, so let's delete this section because there's nothing here. We don't need it. And then we have our transaction details. I want to customize this whole view. Again, I personally like a tabbed orientation, so I'll make that change there. So a lot of the things that you'll see are, which is good, the same way across multiple different components, which is just quite neat. So let's go back to the live side and play with some of these things. So a new thing that you'll see is this add products. So this is a more robust product search. You can really search across your whole catalog, whether it be items themselves, bill of materials, which are just fixed kind of packages, or configuration models. So if you come to type, which is what I like to do, equals, let's say part, we can apply that and we'll see all the parts in the system. And if we want to change that, let's say it's not equals to part, we'll see all our models or bombs here. I don't have any bombs here, but if you did, you would see them. And then we can also see our favorites here, but a person has to search for them. We already have a search criteria applied so that you can already see that there. The cool thing about this is that you can select multiple things that you want here. Doesn't matter, it doesn't need to be the same type of thing. So we selected a handful of parts, about 6 of them. And then let's select some models that we want to also configure. I could just click add right now, or I could come to this cart icon and see the things that I've had. And some things I can edit them, like for these parts, I can give a quantity. And then once I'm satisfied, or I can remove things like I'm doing here. And then once I'm satisfied, I can click add. It takes all those things to the line item grid for me. And then the parts are as they are. And then my models are here. They just need to be configured. So I can click on one of these to configure them, but I'm not going to do that right now. Most people should have seen that before. So let's remove these. And I'm noticing that I don't have a button to remove something. So let's see if we can add that. Let's come to design, products and pricing. I'm going to modify this collection, our row actions. Well, we see we have delete here, but maybe it's not available for me. So let's not worry about that right now. Let's come back to live and I'll remove these later. So with that, that should give you all the basic information you need to move from Jet to Redwood. And Redwood is still being enhanced, so you'll see some things added in future releases. But as we are right now, it's generally available, and we recommend really anyone to try it out. So thank you very much. Hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.